In many situations, modern education is designed to target a specific type of student, one that is able to read and write well. However, not every student learns like this. Students come from all different racial, ethnical, cultural, economic, and linguistic backgrounds, and as such have been raised to learn and act in different ways. Alternatively, all students' brains function differently and work at different capacities, meaning that their ability to learn is directly impacted by the mode of delivery used to teach them. Therefore, as educators, we must embrace this diversity and strive to reach all learners with diverse methods of instruction.
The problem is that this just is not happening in the current education system. We've moved into the 21st century, and yet we still see classrooms with standardized testing and rows of desks where children sit and perform the same thing like robots. These students do not meet this average learner cutout that really no one fits into. Robert W. Cole, an educational consultant, clearly spells out the problem when he says, decisions that significantly affect a student's academic destiny is often made on the basis of one single test score. But students are not one-dimensional, and yet we're not bothering to look at the whole picture of their person. Instead, we educators are looking at them through a small keyhole, hoping they hear our whispers through the door because, it'll be on the test tomorrow, so watch out. You hear people say it all the time, well, they just don't try, or they're not meant for school. We know how to teach people. We have the research, we have the practices, but as Cole says, Canada as a whole has not yet acted on that knowledge. Why are we making it so hard to learn?
Why do we need learning to be diverse? Well, the reality is that the education system for many years has suppressed individualism and instead enforced a sort of averagarianism by forcing us to conform to a set of standards. Thorndike's system, in his ironically titled piece, Individuality, has caused us to lose the dignity of our individuality, exactly what we want to be recognized for. Now, why is individuality so important in regards to education? Well, the Ministry of Education's goal in their Equity and Inclusivity Education Strategy recognizes that our diversity is one of Ontario's greatest strengths. While this is set in the frame of our diversity of culture, it can be narrowed down to the diversity of individuals and their learning strategies. We need individual strengths and challenges to be recognized in the classroom in order to excel individually and collectively. If you look at a color wheel representing aspects of our personality, we need to recognize that there is no single hue that accurately reflects our identity and lived experience. Therefore, we need to recognize this with our teaching. Recognizing the diversity of learning through the lens of individuality allows each student to excel within their strengths and challenges.
So now we're going to be talking about the 7 different kinds of learners that an educator can have in a classroom. So the first kind is auditory learners. They prefer hearing solutions and examples explained to them. Visual learners like diagrams, drawing or charts, and concepts. Verbal learners include writing and speaking. They may prefer reading, word games, and poems. Logical learners are good with numbers and want subjects explained logically. For example, subjects like music and art may need to be taught differently to fit this learner. Physical learners are action-oriented and engage in more hands-on work. Social and interpersonal learners prefer group work and collaboration. It must be known that the interpersonal aspect refers to the setting in which they are most comfortable. And last is solitary and intrapersonal learners. They're seen as more independent and private. They're more comfortable working alone and are self-motivated learners. There are many different kinds of learners. It is the educator's job to facilitate to the class to effectively teach to each student, and mixed learning is a great approach that educators can use in their classroom.
What can we do to diversify learning? Well, there is no easy answer here. There's no one simple thing we can do to make classroom 100% diverse and inclusive. But there are many tools we as teachers can use to help different types of learners feel comfortable in the learning environment. For example, we could record lessons, use charts, diagrams, or even props in the lesson. We can also engage in small discussions and debates and include collaborative work in the classroom. Now, the most important thing is for teachers to be mindful of different learners and how it affects their learning. And this can be done by observing interactions among students while taking note of how students engage in different learning styles. And lastly, it is important for teachers to be flexible and willing to adapt when necessary.